We got how good was WrestleMania 40? And I mean, they pulled out some stops on that mug. I didn't get to watch it, but you know, you see it on social media and everything. But we're gonna check this out though.
When Roman Reigns pinned Cody Rhodes to end WrestleMania 39 on top, all eyes immediately shifted to WrestleMania 40 in Philadelphia. Fans thought that if not in LA, it had to be here. It had to end here, and it had to be Cody Rhodes who did it. Well, the lights have gone down, and he is in fact ready now. WrestleMania 40 is in the books, and Cody Rhodes is your new undisputed WWE Universal Champion. He's beaten the Tribal Chief, he's ended the over 1,300 day reign of Roman, and he's finished the story. His story is complete, but for the WWE it seems like this was the beginning of a new chapter. Over this past weekend, the company, whether it was in press conferences, kickoffs, or commentary, made it evident that they were ushering in.
And I actually liked the stage that was last time. Some people didn't like the stage, but I mean, I thought their stage was pretty cool. It looked a little bit it reminds me of WrestleMania 20. I think that's maybe what they were going for since it was 40.
New era. WrestleMania 40 kicked off with a brand new signature that gave off major Marvel vibes, and it seems like the ideology for the company has shifted. They're not telling these shitty flip-flop stories that make no sense anymore.
Hard.
The focus is to do what a TV show should do. Tell stories that make you think. Tell stories that are deeper than just a championship on the line. The opening had Triple H voicing it over, so it only made sense for him to be the first one out and tell the fans that things were now going to be different. So he came out, he did the whole "it's a new era, we're going to change the game, this is the biggest gate of all time." No, but jokes aside, both nights of WrestleMania 40 in my book delivered. There was a lot of good, there was a lot to enjoy, and at the core of everything, WrestleMania should feel like a party, and it did indeed feel like a party. If at the end of it all you had fun, that's all that matters. You should have the laughs, the crazy moments should be present, the excitement should be in the air, and you should be taken on an emotional journey, and that's exactly what we got. Of course I have my nitpicks, of course I have my annoyances, I have my theories of looking way too deep into some stuff, but at the core of it, I was entertained. The WWE did the Slammy Awards this past weekend, and the winner of Match of the Year was Charlotte and Rhea from WrestleMania 39, even though, let's be honest, the Gunther match was objectively Match of the Year. So Rhea comes out again, but this time against a different member of the Four Horsewomen. Becky comes out to the most blatant.
Hey, I seen the highlights to this mug. They was getting it in.
Advertisement you'll ever see. Rhea was played out by Motionless in White, and this is kind of scary. The resemblance makes me uncomfortable. It was Rhea Ripley looking at the short-haired version of Rhea Ripley. We're not going to go blow for blow. Becky and Rhea, simply put, just had a very good open. There was an electric chair spot where both women went over the top rope in that formation to the outside. Rhea lands on her feet to hit the drop, and this was so impressive because it could have gone wrong. The finish to this match I also thought was really good. Becky was going for an avalanche manhandle slam. Rhea slipped out, hit a riptide onto the top turnbuckle, followed by a normal riptide to retain the women's world title. This was very smooth as an open. Was it a classic? No. Was it Charlotte and Rhea from last year? I don't think so. It was easily a step below. Maybe a few more minutes would have put it in that territory. However, it was good. What hasn't been good is Rhea's title reign. Let's call a spade a spade. Like, if I were to ask you to name me 5 memorable matches from this reign, you're gonna have a real tough time. That being said, Rhea is such a star right now, it's crazy. She's 27, and the trajectory she's on for the next decade is something that a lot of us had no idea would even be possible. Also, did I miss something? Why is everyone online all of a sudden trashing on Becky Lynch? That's something that I just don't understand. She's been a constant, she's put people over, she's delivered in her matches. I don't get what's going on with that narrative. Anyways, this open was a high point in the show, and the next match just continued to build on that high point. Ladder match for the Raw and SmackDown tag team titles. It was blatantly obvious.
I seen the highlights for this match too. They was going crazy. This match was funny though.
That they were going to split the titles, but it was also blatantly obvious that this was going to be a car crash. Bodies hitting the floor, R-Truth hitting the butt a little bit too much. With 12 dudes in the match, it just made it more crazy. Gargano died, McDonough died, Kofi hit a crazy trust fall, air raid crash from the top of the ladder, Bate does an airplane spin while Balor was holding a ladder, double moonsaults from Dunn and Bate. At one point, R-Truth asks for the hot tag, not knowing that this is not a tag match. He comes in, hits John Cena's comeback, and the crowd ate this up. There were so many spots, and this filled that high that it was there to fill. Austin Theory and Grayson Waller won the SmackDown Tag Team Championships, and for the Raw side, it was Awesome Truth. I saw people were pissed with Awesome Truth. It lends itself to what I talked about earlier. WrestleMania needs to have that party vibe. The nonsense that team brings is what works for the live crowd. R-Truth getting his first WrestleMania win this late into his career is a feel-good moment and a pure WrestleMania moment. I like that they split the titles because the roster has gotten so good that it needed to happen. Now what I want is a redesign. Every title has gotten a makeover, but the penny titles just aren't doing it. If you're of the camp that Gargano and Ciampa should have won, SummerSlam this year is in Cleveland. I actually feel like we might get a hot build-up to a tag match because Triple H has done it before with these two. The tag match between Rey and Andrade against Dominic and Santos was fun. The most memorable part was Joaquin.
That thing where he did the little chair diving. What is that thing called? Dang. I think it's just called a crossbody. Yeah, that went hard.
Insane slingshot. It was all hell breaking loose, but it wasn't anything that you're gonna actively rewatch. It served its purpose for what it was. Now let's get into the biggest clusterfuck of the weekend. Brother versus brother. One word: ass. This stunk. There's no walk around it. Straight up, this was not good. I rewatched it. I tried to like it. I can't like it. Also, look, I love Wheezy. I loved him growing up. But what was that? I wish I could say that's the worst performance I've seen in a while, but let's not forget, it wasn't too long ago when this company had Hardy come out at the Royal Rumble and jump around like he had his dick chopped off. That performance was an indication of things to come in the actual match between Jay and Jimmy, and they just didn't hit, and it all comes down to the simple fact that there's zero authenticity to this rivalry. They talked about how they wanted this match in interviews before, and it felt like they were doing the match just to say that it happened. All they did was spam super kicks. By my count, they hit 17, and this was not enjoyable. That now on the record, the promo package for this was elite. It was so well done. The story of their brotherhood was told perfectly, and it lended itself to the storytelling during the match where Jay had compassion for Jimmy after seeing just how much punishment his brother could take. Jay fell for the trap, but Jimmy still couldn't get the win. When the bell rang, Jay won the match and it abruptly ended. This needed more time, this needed a better structure overall, and maybe it could have been helped by a stipulation. They made this a game of Philly kickball and kind of exposed the fact that they didn't really have the versatility to put on a great match. However, I will say that of the two nights we got, this was the only thing that was outright bad. I wasn't expecting Brett versus Owen, I wasn't expecting a classic, but I was expecting something actually good. The women's tag match was solely there to get Bianca and Asuka, Jade, Naomi, all those other women onto the card. The goal here was to showcase Jade Cargill. I mean, you had so much hype after her signing, so you kind of have to show that this woman is worth it. They made it apparent that Jade is one of their future pillars. Her presentation has been phenomenal, and this was fine. Again, it was the same thing as the men's tag match from earlier. Asuka being 0-7 at WrestleMania is actually crazy. This is where the show kind of hit a lull, and it came down to the fact that WWE sandwiched the Usos match in between two tag matches that people didn't really care that much about. Michael Cole told us that it was cold a solid 88 times, and that was one of the reasons why the crowd wasn't into this. The difference between the night 1 crowd and night 2 crowd was literally night and day. Next up was Gunther versus Sami Zayn for the Intercontinental Championship. Simply put, this ruled. This was the match of night one to me, no questions asked. This had everything you'd want from a pure wrestling standpoint. They chopped the living hell out of each other. Gunther dominates Sammy, but Sammy doesn't say die. That's the whole story of the match. He clings on, and he continues to cling on. He's a shot away from turning the tide. At every turn, Gunther is hitting power bombs or lariats. Sammy just keeps coming back for more and more punishment. This played into the finish perfectly. Gunther had Sammy dead to rights, but instead wanting to embarrass Zayn, and knowing that he could, he just kept going for more. He just kept hitting more moves. He goes for a splash, has the chance to pin Sammy, but then goes to the top to hit another splash. Only this time he gets caught with a haluva kick, followed by a brainbuster on the top turnbuckle, then 2 haluva kicks, and to the shock of men...
That brain buster on the turnbuckle. GG's.
Sami Zayn wins the Intercontinental Championship. This match told a fantastic story, and it has a genius to it on its own. And here's what that genius is. The character of the ring general is he takes professional wrestling seriously. In a world full of entertainers, he's a pure wrestler who never goofs around, he never gets cocky, never takes his eyes off the prize, which is why this finish was brilliant, because Gunther strayed away from everything that makes him him. He started to taunt, he started to hit extra moves when he could have just gone for the win and walked away the winner. Instead, he continued to toy with Zayn, and that cost him. Sammy ends Gunther's 666-day Intercontinental Championship reign. Honestly, I didn't think this was going to happen. To me, it felt like this needed a bit more of a build-up because it seemed like they were positioning Chad Gable to do it. My opinion on this is twofold. One, what a wholesome moment. Sammy is one of the realest wrestlers out there and he deserves this. On the other side, ending what is the greatest Intercontinental Championship reign should have felt like more of a spectacle, if that makes sense. The nitpick many have with this is that it should have been Chad Gable. Yeah, that was the more natural story. We'll get into that on a different day. But as for this was just so wholesome. The match was a pure hit. And listen, a few weeks back I talked about how Seth Rollins was a stud at WrestleMania. Gunther right now is 2 for 2. Last year against Sheamus and Drew, and now this clinic against Sammy. He's left the fans singing his praises again. Perhaps we're seeing the beginning stages of a legendary WrestleMania resume being built. The legend that was being built at WrestleMania 40 though was Cody Rhodes. We get to the main event and I don't care what anyone says, but I just had a blast watching this tag match. It took way too long to get into this, but once we actually got into what mattered, this was awesome. Rock came out, and this right here is Aura if I've ever seen it. Aura level 1000. He's out there standing in the middle of a Brahma bull that was on fire. He has the People's Championship, and online everyone's saying that this guy looked gassed. He was fine. He's 51 years old. He doesn't do this on a regular basis. So to everyone acting like the guy got shot 5 minutes into this match, chill. He was fine. The match started off slow, then Rock started to play political chess. Shout out to my boys at Elite Heat. He basically tells the ref, if you call a DQ or a count out, you're fired. The final boss doesn't fuck around. So after an unnecessarily long stare down, we go to the outside and this turns into a no holds barred brawl around the arena. Rock and Seth go at it in the crowd. Meanwhile, Roman and Cody are brawling on the entrance ramp. And eventually things start to pick up. At one point, Cody goes for a Cody cutter where Seth tags in and hits a splash onto Roman. Then later, Rhodes' team hits double super kicks followed by a stomp, then a crossroads, and Roman survives because The Rock pulls the ref out. Roman later in the match goes to hit Cody with a spear, but instead spears Rock, so there's some storytelling there. Seth Rollins pushes Cody out of the way, which gives him that entire bit that also lends into night 2, because as you guys remembered, Seth said that he was going to be Cody's shield. There was a part in the match where Rock goes for a people's elbow and Cody turns this into a Cody cutter. Pun intended, this was packed with so much adrenaline. Double pedigrees, nothing. Cody then hits a rock bottom on the Rock from one announce table onto the other. Roman spears Seth through the barricade, and it is pure madness. Then we get to the part of the match that I love. Just when you think Cody's got it in hand, he doesn't. He goes for a third crossroads on Roman, and we get a call back to WrestleMania 39. In the closing moments of that match, he was about to hit a third crossroads, but ended up on the right side of the ring only for it to cost him. Last year, it was Solo with a spike. This year, it was Rock with a weight belt, and that's where the match changed. Roman hit a spear, Rock came in, People's Elbow, Rock bottom. That's
Sorry,
it.
I can't do that.
Second longest match in WrestleMania history. This needed to be 25, maybe 30 minutes. You could have easily shaved off 15 minutes. But as a main event, once we got to what we needed to get to, this hit. I like the fact that night 1 had stakes leading into night 2. To end the show, the Samoans celebrated, and there sat Cody Rhodes in the middle of the ring having flashbacks to last year. Cody getting pinned here to me made sense because you had to make it an upwards climb for the next night. Night 1 for me felt fun, and you know how I could tell it was fun is because before I knew it, it was over. It didn't drag on, there wasn't anything offensively bad on the show aside from the brother versus brother match. The clear highlights were the main event, the Intercontinental Championship match, the ladder match, and the women's title match. Night 1 was not perfect by any means, and that comes down to the structure. However, night 2 was at...
Alright, we're going to end this on the first part. We're going to end it where night 1 ends, man. They put on a hell of a show, man. For real. But like and subscribe, see you on the next one.